Hey, everyone. I'm Becca, he's Matt, and this is Becca's Book Club Adventure. And we read The Cursed by Harper L. Woods. So you don't have to, unless you want to.
Becca just recently finished this book.
Yeah.
I read it back at the very beginning of May. So like 6 months ago. I don't know what that is. So we're gonna talk about it now.
Yeah. You read it immediately after you read the first book. And I was like, no, I need to read it during spooky season. And then forgot to request it from the library, and then it took an eon to get to me. So
I was obsessed with the first book. And then I read this one. So I guess, Becca, what did you think?
Well, we could have read this or recorded this a month and a half ago, but I had to stop in the middle of the book. Mostly because I ran out of time on my Libby hold and had to put it back on. But I also ran out of time because I had a hard time reading this book. Bad or anything like that. Our main character, Willow, is like, do I love him? Do I not? Do I love him? Do I not? And it was getting a little old. And it wasn't like, do I love him? Do I not? It was, do I love him or will I kill him? Do I love him or will I kill him?
And not to mention all of the, like, is she consenting to all of this, like, graphic intimacy or not? I'm not.
Yes. Was there consent or was there not? Was very difficult in this book, which she towed a line in the first book. So I guess not unexpected that this towed line is maybe very blurry in the second book. But that made it a lot harder for me of like, does our main character know what she's doing? I don't know. So for that, my overall reading, I think, was a 3.
3. I'm looking at Storygraph and I gave it a 3.75. But I didn't actually write any review, like a review for it. I didn't write any comments, so I have no idea why I gave it a 3.75.
I always forget the comments on Storygraph are all the way at the bottom, I think. So, like, when you put your number, that's when I want to put my thoughts and then do the rest of the ranking. But I think you do the rest of the ranking and then your thoughts.
Yeah. So some of the questions that Storygraph asks: plot or character driven? I said a mix.
Mm-hmm.
Strong character development? I said complicated.
Yes, very complicated.
Lovable characters? I also said complicated.
Yeah.
It might be bordering on no, not really.
Right? I loved him in the beginning.
Diverse cast of characters, and I said it's complicated because like on a large scale it feels a little whitewashed, but I don't think it is. And then of course you have their like witches and wizards and demons, and there are archangels, and like that's pretty diverse, but somehow they all still feel like white people when you're reading it.
Yeah, every time I get to that question, I'm like, I don't know how to answer this. And if I don't know how to answer this, the answer probably is no, but...
And flaws of characters are a main focus. I also said complicated.
Yeah, I would probably lean towards yes on that one.
I suppose.
Willow had some flaws we needed to work on.
Okay, so was this better, the worse, or the same as the first book, The Coven?
I don't want to say it's worse, but I liked The Coven better.
I think that's a very gracious and succinct way of phrasing that, and I would agree. But because I read it so long ago, like I think I read it in the end of April, beginning of May, we're going to have to recap this to help jog my memory of some of the stuff that happened.
Absolutely. But before we get too far, if listeners want to join the conversation, feel free to leave us a comment or review or email us at bookclubbybecca@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram at Becca's Book Club Adventure. We'd love to hear from you. All right, Matt, start off our recap.
Okay. Book 2 picks up right where Book 1 left off. Okay. Willow is stunned and reeling from Gray unaliving the Covenant as well as 12 members of the Coven. She's in shock from having been stabbed and her blood used to open a portal to hell. She's not sure what to make of a bunch of archdemons now being in the mortal realm. And she's especially upset and pissed off by learning that Gray is actually Lucifer, the devil, and that she's married to him.
It's a lot for the first few pages.
It's a lot. Yeah.
In the moments after these events start to settle, she makes her bid to leave the scene. But Beelzebub, Beelzebub,
Beelzebub.
Beelzebub, Beelzebub. I got this, friends. Beelzebub, one of the archdemons, not knowing Gray's feelings for her, decides that she has reached the end of her usefulness and snaps her neck, unaliving her.
Gray leaps into action, slices open his own arm, and forces his blood into Willow's mouth in order to bring her back to life.
Sometime later, Willow wakes up in Gray's bedroom and the story begins. Disoriented and furious, she tries to make sense of the world, even if she's actually alive.
Gray insists that she is still a witch. His blood only brought her back, it didn't transform her. Still, she feels kind of different, almost like she's unable to control her body.
She's angry and confused and refuses to accept what's happened. Gray orders her to be confined to his room while she recovers. That always helps.
Mm-hmm. Willow decides that Gray is a problem that needs to be eliminated, and the only weakest he seems to have is her. So she begins to use her feminine wiles on him.
By seducing Gray both sexually and emotionally, she ends up accidentally making him as hers and completing the marriage ceremony and bond that he started in book 1.
So they're married in truth now, I guess. Sure. So Gray orders Willow's confinement to his rooms, not only because she's recovering, but also because Hollow's Grove, indeed all of Crystal Grove, is in upheaval. From their perspective, Willow aided and abetted Gray's hostile takeover of the Coven, and they want retribution against Willow and her traitorous actions.
Can you hear the pups? They're having fun.
Yeah, but they're cute.
In an attempt to quell this unrest, Willow and Gray call the entire Coven to the tribunal room to lay down some truce and begin some semblance of peace and harmony.
Willow ends up combining the green and black witch tribunal thrones into a new throne in place of the previous covenant. This was actually pretty cool.
Yeah. She declares herself as the new covenant and then begins to let the truth of the tribunal's plot to unalive all witches in order to unalive all vessels be known.
The witches aren't having any of that and end up staging a coup right then and there where they unalive the existing tribunal members.
Even through all of this, Willow hasn't forgotten her vow to eliminate Gray, and she begins to conspire with her fellow students.
Together, they find a book that tells them that they need to imbue a magic knife with all of the different witch powers, and then it can be used to eliminate the devil.
This is about where I stopped the first time. Where she was like, will I, won't I, will I, won't I.
There's like, and then while she's like, will I, won't they, there's a lot of.
Yeah. Yeah. And Ivan is just all up in this business of like, well, do I actually love this other witch who wants to have babies with me?
He's a problem.
So I resume the book finally. And it starts off with, upon seducing Gray, Willow stabs him in the heart with this knife that they created, but it doesn't actually unalive him.
Turns out that the only way to actually unalive the devil is to unalive his corresponding life force, which is now Willow, since he poured so much of his blood into her. He attached his soul to her in order to bring her back to him.
So that means the knife is meant to unalive Willow. And the other students lied to her.
And now she feels closer to and trusts Gray so much more. Surprise, surprise. We got to keep that will they, won't they energy flowing, you know?
Willow also begins having dreams where she is visited by Archangel. That word, Archangel.
Archangel.
Michael,
yeah.
Gray's brother.
Tired of all of the deception, unaliving, and blood, Willow seeks solace in the earth, the one place she has always felt at home, the one place she can seek solace within herself, the one place she can connect with her mother.
In the garden, she accidentally touches the source instead of just her green magic, and she's able to combine her black and green magic and then combine all of the powers.
Wow, good job, Becca. I'm reading what you just read, and I don't know what I wrote there. So props to you for saying something good. Not the individual source for a part of the power, right? Willow touches the source, capital T, capital S, of all magic, because that's what Gray's blood gave her when he saved her. Willow has leveled.
Willow journeys to an in between realm where she learns the prophecy of the triple goddess, the crone, the mother, and the daughter.
She speaks with Charlotte Hecate and learns that Charlotte is the crone. And Willow will become the mother, with her future daughter being the daughter.
I think it's the maiden, but whatever.
Maiden, you're right.
Willow is told that her daughter will one day be the balance of the world, signifying a pivotal role in the cosmic order.
But while Willow is in this like in between world, her mortal body is still back on Earth and is being beaten by her fellow student witches.
She is abducted by Iban and taken to the tribunal room where the Archangel Michael is waiting for her friend, with her friend Margot as captive, and the knife.
A knife. They stab Willow with the knife and use her blood to open the portal to hell while letting her slowly bleed out.
In the ensuing battle, Beelzebub and Gray find their way to the tribunal room and are able to put a stop to the carnage, but at a terrible cost.
That's right. Beelzebub and Margot fall into hell and can't get back before the portal is sealed.
And that is how we set up Book 3, The Damned.
Before we get into the deep dive on the cursed, we need to pause and thank today's sponsor.
This episode is brought to you by the National Turkey Council, reminding you that we are not consulted about Thanksgiving.
Tired of being the centerpiece of your seasonal guilt fest? Turkeys everywhere are taking a stand.
Turkeys are majestic and misunderstood animals and are very much not consenting to your cranberry-based traditions.
This November, try something new. Maybe summon the devil. Maybe break a generational curse. Or just eat literally anything else.
Side effects of skipping turkey may include smug vegan relatives, confused grandmas, and one very relieved bird watching from the electric line.
The National Turkey Council wants to remind you of your conscience around the holidays. And back to the show. So, something that I think we can all pick up just from this recap. Book 1 and therefore book 2 ends with Willow like bleeding out in the tribunal room with a portal to hell having been opened. And book 2 ends with Willow like bleeding out in the tribunal room with a portal to hell having been opened.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah, we didn't progress very far in book 2. We did get married, but we didn't progress far.
Speaking of progression, how long was this, like in time period mode? How much time did this book cover? I remember being very confused by that.
A week at most.
Okay, all right. I guess I wasn't all that confused because I was like, nothing, what?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been longer. We didn't really get a whole lot of details on like how many days passed between things, but like I think there were maybe a total of 7 noticeable days to me.
That's a little crazy.
But our first book was maybe 2 months, so it's not entirely surprising that this one is short. It is a traumatic week.
Can you imagine the PTSD that Willow is going to have when she actually has a moment to like breathe?
Yeah, that, and also like what about her fucking roommates who are just watching this happen, who are like, I thought I made a friend and I'm kind of scared of her, and also what she's telling me sounds really traumatic, and so I have bystander trauma. Ugh. This had some heavier themes.
Yeah. Which one of the heavy themes do you want to start with? what did your brother, not brother, brain have trouble like processing or dealing with?
The um Willow is kind of taken advantage of in regards to she is not given a lot of information. And so she makes decisions based off of the lack of information she has when this supposed partner of hers could give her a lot of information. So I don't like this is the same thing. It's why I don't like Xaden. I don't like the withholding of information.
One could argue, so at least with like the Empyrean series, those books take place over a pretty considerable amount of time.
Mhm.
So you can be like, yeah, Zayden, you're kind of a jerk. You're not telling anybody anything. But like, can we really fault Gray? Wow, this is so hard to say considering he's the devil. Can we really fault Gray for not giving her the inside scoop on everything and all of his plans within a week where she should have just been in bed recovering from having died?
This is part of my problem with it because he's not all that bad. He's like, please, for the love of shit, can you sleep? Can you just sleep? You went through something really horrible and traumatic. Can you just take care of yourself? And Willow's like, no.
I feel like you just actually relived a scenario with like your dog. You had surgery, dude. Just sit there, just sleep.
It's traumatic.
But I guess speaking of Gray being, quote, good, or at least, we empathize with him or whatever, I think that's only because they ended up bringing in the Archangel Michael and kind of giving Gray a little bit of a backstory and the battle between the demons and the angels and how things aren't like black and white, good versus bad, like the world has been made to believe, or something along those lines.
Right? Which is like all of it's so interesting. And we learn a little bit more about Iband and his motivations and his wants and needs, which aren't all that interesting, so I don't remember them, but we did learn more about him.
Yeah, I think what he gave up his witch power in order to procreate,
Yes.
which almost 100% sounds like a Gen Z male at this point. Um, so like his motivations are, if I'm remembering correctly, something like he just wants the witch community to be stable so that he can have a family. And
And he wants to combine the green powers or whatever.
yeah, he wants to, yeah. What about this like mother-daughter maiden-crone trope? I thought my initial impression was that felt like it almost came out of nowhere.
I want to say it was alluded to in book 1, and it's always a the 3 goddesses are a very common theme anytime you're gonna have the witches. So, I'm not surprised that it's finally starting to take form. I am interested that Willow is the mother, because typically you see things from the maiden perspective, and we see her as the maiden in book 1, really, because we learn a lot about her mom, and then we learn about Charlotte Hecate, so it would make sense that Willow is actually the maiden. So in this book, now we learn that Willow's the mother, and that there is another one to come.
I That doesn't bother me because I think one could argue that Willow was the maiden
Mhm.
and she will become the mother. And on some level, I kind of like that because oftentimes fairy tales or morality stories will pigeonhole everybody into like a one role. Everybody is kind of archetypal or tropey or whatever. And I kind of like this you can be more than one thing concepts that they're giving Willow.
Yeah, I don't mind the concept per se, as long as we also get her as the crone, because I do wanna see the full cycle then.
That will be cool. I wonder if she's gonna have to like kill Charlotte Hecate in order to like become the crone or something in the future.
In one of revisions, because 'cause isn't Charlotte dead?
I mean, yes, but also no.
Right?
Yeah, like get rid of the resonance or what, put a final stop to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of bringing back from the dead in this book, and a lot more of her black powers, which is really interesting, and I do appreciate that.
With that, I guess so the blacks are necromancers. So obviously Willow is a necromancer, but Gray does a lot of bringing back alive. Is he considered a necromancer? I know he's the devil. And I know he's all powerful and all of that, but like, what makes you a necromancer? Do you have to be a witch to be a necromancer? Or is a necromancer literally just somebody that brings the dead back to life?
I think it's just the latter. And Gray has access to all the powers, right? Because he has access to the source.
Mhm. Well, I guess, yeah, he created the witches. I mean, if we really go back in time to Charlotte Hecate talking to the devil, that would have been Gray. That's crazy.
So then he has a thing for Charlotte, and then Charlotte's long, long ancestor,
Hmm.
which is also just a really interesting thing to think about of like, ooh, you've been around so long, you've seen multiple generations of these females, and you still like these females. Hmm.
I think in when we talked about the Coven, we talked about how it would be like a good TV show or movie because of the setting and whatever. Um, do you still feel that way with now that we've read The Cursed?
I think it would it would need some different artistry.
It feels very like it could go the way of Once Upon a Time or Lost or the like we're just going to weave plots within plots and nobody's a good guy and nobody's a bad guy and everybody's a shade of gray and we're just going to go back and forth with who's the bad guy of the week because that's really how this book kind of I remember it feeling. Do you like that kind of a thing?
I do, because then you're trying to figure out where's the truth in all of this. And I could see with the series following a different character each episode. And then you could see things from multiple different points of view, which would be really interesting. Remember how the first book I told you it wasn't very spicy? And then you were like, you lied.
Yeah, yeah,
Now I'm like, oh, this one was really spicy.
really spicy, really spicy. um
So I think that's what's giving me pause too.
this was so I have a lot of reservation with like the whole Once Upon a Time Lost storytelling concept. And the reason is like that was amazing back in the day when you waited a week for the next episode.
Mhm.
But now that you have this binge watching concept, it's actually hard to binge watch that storytelling. I tried to Elizabeth and I tried to watch Once Upon a Time. We made it through the first season, then we watched the first 5 or 6 episodes of season 2 and we were like we can't anymore. We're done. And I think it's because you can't binge watch that kind of stuff. And I think when I read this book, I think I read the book in a weekend.
Yeah.
And I think maybe part of the reason I didn't enjoy it is because I kind of binged it.
Yeah, you need time to process what's going on. And to your point with like Once Upon a Time, if you're not actually watching the episode in full, you've missed half the details. So the whole who's the bad guy, you can't figure it out because you don't even have the information because you probably were scrolling your phone.
And with your point about the spice level, I mean, listen, you watched the first season of Outlander, right?
Yeah. Well,
Okay,
no, I
so
watched the first episode.
oh, okay. There is some very graphic, unconsented, torturous, spicy stuff in like the last episode or two. Um, and it was really well done, really powerful. And I think the only reason I can say those things about it is because it was literally in one episode. But I feel like this would be in every episode. And I don't know if I could like get behind watching a TV show with questionable, morally gray, quasi forceful spiciness every episode.
Yeah.
Be like a bit much.
There's one scene in particular. It's well described, it's well done, but it made me think about why I DNF'd a book. So I DNF'd the girl with the dragon tattoo because I couldn't. It was too many rape scenes. It's a wonderful story otherwise, not that I know because I didn't finish it, but but it was too much for me. And after reading this, I was like, "Okay, well, at least that cured me of that DNF. Like, at least I could make it through this."
I guess at least there's that silver lining. I haven't read The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I watched the movie.
I haven't seen the
There aren't any real like grape scenes, as it were.
I don't know how you write those out. They're, like, integral to the plot point from what I remember. Granted, this was over a decade ago.
Do you like this kind of spicy like okay, not the questionable consent, but the actual how it's written and the level of graphicness and
It was interesting. Whether I like it or not, I don't really know, but this was definitely interesting. I thought it was very well written, which I don't think all do that.
No. Um, when we were at the Crozet Book Fest, and I talked to Eliza MacArthur about the line between romance and erotica. Like I think this is one of those ones where all of the sex scenes very much furthered the plot.
Yes.
There was nothing for the sake of it. But in the first book, there was definitely some instances where you're like, oh, you just wanted to write that in there.
Appreciate also, like, descriptive, helpful, useful for imagery, but, like, it's not like I know if gray's a redwood tree or a Christmas tree. Like, there was none of that level of description. Like, I don't know what Willow's body shape looks like.
No, I think she's supposed to be curvy, if I remember.
Perfect.
I think
Just not
because
brought
in the
up
first
often.
no, I think the only thing that it alludes to is in the first book. And I remember making a joke with this with you way back when. She hates wearing the schoolgirl skirts because her
Mhm.
thighs rub.
Yes.
And that
You could
kind
be
of implies,
listen, but you could be skinny and have your thighs touch, okay?
I suppose.
Because
I
that's just an
suppose.
anatomical how wide are your hips or not your hips, your, how do your femurs attach to your hip is where whether you have a thigh gap or not. Anywho. Just for
Um,
those of you trying to lose weight for a thigh gap, it ain't worth it because
oh,
anatomically that was chosen for you.
yeah, as somebody that has been obsessed with like gym things for a long time, you really, unless you want to go do some drugs, some steroids, you're not going to change your genetic structure at all. And even with steroids, it's a very minimal degree of anatomic change. Anyhow,
I think it's so interesting how she's so descriptive. We get all this information, but we don't really have a lot of like specific character details. And I kind of like that. You can fill in a lot of,
she has red hair, right? Or some version of red hair, right?
I do think, yes.
Okay. Why are they're all redheads? Is that okay, so I'm going to ask are they all redheads because red hair is supposed to be like the redheaded stepchild, meaning you're other, you're outside of the norm, or are redheads just hot?
I mean, I think redheads are hot, but that's my personal opinion.
They're all redheads, you know what I mean? Nothing wrong with that. It's great. So what is the future of the series? Do you know anything about book 3?
You had slightly mentioned that we we go with Margot in the next book, which I think will be really interesting because I'm also really done with Willow.
Yeah, yeah,
Willow
yeah.
needs some time to adult on her own.
So I follow well, our podcast IG account follows Harper L Woods on Instagram. Um, book 3, The Damned, came out a couple weeks ago. Um, and yes, it follows Margot and Beelzebub and their relationship as they try to make their way out of hell. And I just saw yesterday, I think, Harper L. Woods has put out a call for alpha readers for book 4.
Oh.
And she said that it's a requirement that you have already read The Damned in order to be an alpha reader for book 4, which makes me think that it's going to be another installment of the Margot and Beelzebub story.
Yeah.
Um, don't know when that's coming out. I would assume 2026.
If she's to the point of needing alpha readers, then she's close to being done with that project.
Um, but that got me wondering, would you ever want to be an alpha reader, or would you ever want to be a beta reader, or maybe you don't even want to be those, but would you want to be like an ARC reader, advanced reader's copy? So like you get it before the rest of the world.
Am I interested in the concept? Yes. I don't like pressured reading because I struggle with timelines. And like we've done really good with this podcast. We have a timeline, we read the book, we record, blah, blah, blah. But we've also been super flexible with each other on that. And I feel like if you're going to sign up to be an alpha, beta, or advanced reader copy, they want your opinions and they want them timely. So there's a deadline. And I can do that at work all day long. I cannot do that with my hobbies.
Yeah. I'm with you. I don't want to be an alpha or beta reader because they want notes. Like they want you to like annotate what you're reading and be like, this isn't descriptive enough, or the plot is getting lost, or like they want feedback. Um, ARC, you don't change the story and you don't give them really feedback per se. But I think it is sort of expected that if you're going to be an advanced reader, you're going to read it now.
Mhm.
And you're going to put content out about it. And I really struggle with that. Like, I would love to do that for Alex Haro, for example, just because I'm going to read the crap out of her books and I want it as soon as possible. But I don't want to be an ARC reader at the same time for what you just said. I don't want to feel like I have to drop what we're doing now.
And I feel like to do the author justice, you need to know not only the series that you're reading for, but also some of their other works so that you could say whether it does align or it does not align or any of that component to hopefully help inform how they decide to market the book. Um, since marketing books don't seem to align all the time with the actual book because it seems like somehow the author and reader are left out of that process.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I've also kind of struggled with the concept of like I know we talked about it before, but the book talk and bookstagram people that hype new books that are like ARC readers and whatever, they often market things really not so fun, you know, and they mislead people. And I would love to be part of like a solution to that, but I don't feel I just want to read what I want to read. Like we're not going to get famous because we're not reading the current stuff. Like we're reading books that came out 5, 6 years ago. And why is that bad? That it's more fun to discover things. And I don't know. At
I
least we're
mean,
aligned.
if we have 6 generations worth of clothes that are out there, how many generations worth of books do we have to read? Not we should keep creating, just so we're clear. Keep creating stories, but, uh, I'll never be able to get through what's even out there, let alone what's coming.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm going to like I kind of previously stated, I would love to moderate a book festival session or whatever. And I know for that, you're going to have to read all of the author's recent books. And if that includes an ARC copy or whatever, I'm all for it as a one-off thing. But I don't want that to be my TBR list is just being dictated week by week by publishing houses and authors. Yeah.
I also imagine it doesn't like, you're paid in the book, you're not actually paid.
Yeah. I don't I think it's extra. I think you make money from the content you create or it's just a hobby and you don't make money. Not that, yeah, I don't need to necessarily make money, but
It's an
I think
investment.
it comes down to I kind of want to live my life the way I want to live it rather than feeling like I'm reacting to I got an email on Monday and then I got another one on Wednesday and then I got another one on Saturday and I got to speed through these books. Anyway, kind of a weird aside. Thanks for humoring me, but maybe we should put a bookmark in it for now.
I think so. I think, I will probably put The Damned on my, library list, and, we'll see when it comes in.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm definitely going to read it. I'm invested at this point. We could do a buddy read of this one, if the stars align, if you want. But
We could try.
I'm invested. Whether or not I really, really want to, I like my brain is being like, dude, you need the story. Yeah.
Well, thank you all for listening. Don't forget to leave us a comment or send us an email. Our contact info is in the description.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye, friends.